Hey everyone, I hope you all are doing good. So, today we have the day 4 of our web development workshop session. In the previous sessions, we have studied about HTML, basics of CSS, and all the basic concepts of JavaScript. All of these things we have studied. Today, we are going to study about the backend part and all the API integrations that we have right now. So just give me a minute to share my screen and then we'll continue. Meanwhile, if you guys have any doubts, you can ask in the chat box and I'm open for all the questions. Just give me a minute, let me connect my earphones and then we'll continue. Okay, so is my screen visible to you all right now? Yeah, so I guess it's visible. So today we are going to cover the Ajax and API part of the web development. So what exactly is APIs? So API refer to application programming interface, and they are interface where one piece of software interacts with another software. So for example, I have google.com. Okay, so this is one piece of software which is google.com. It's the client page. And wherever I make the request, for example, if I say let's go to Gemini, for example, it will, as soon as I click on it, it will be redirected to a new page. So by using google.com, I am able to redirect to a new software which is Gemini, Google's Gemini page. So that's how API interact with each other. So let's say there are some websites, okay, and we create endpoints for them. For example, I have this cryptonator.com website, and I can create an API for that. And if I target at this particular endpoint, then I'll be able to do something. So if I go to, let me open ChatGPT for now, for giving you an example. If I open ChatGPT, and yeah, hello, how, if I ask a question, hello, how is the weather today? Okay, and I click on enter. Now it will be, it has given me a response. Now if I click on inspect and I go to networks tab, okay, right now, let me make one another request also. What is the date today, for example? If I make this and I click on enter, so you can see I am getting some requests here which says some random things. For example, um yeah, here sent at the timestamp and everything, and also the metadata which is being sent here right now. And if I go to header, you can see that I am sending some request somewhere. So it's chatgpt.com and some endpoint after that, right? So it's accepted right now, it's showing accepted. So that's why I'm getting a response. If we scroll a little bit down, we can also see the response and all the things that we have right now, right? So what this means is there are API endpoints for interacting with different softwares. Okay, so that's what APIs do. So it lets us interact with backend and front end of our web application. So if you have suppose create a backend for your application and you want to interact it with the front end, so you use APIs for that. So the reason we want raw information is that we don't need styles, etc. We only need the application interface. So, for example, you have Twitter API. Okay, so you can find out who mentioned us in a tweet or in everything by using the Twitter's API and creating a front end of your application accordingly. Now, there are two different formats in which we use the we use to interact with like application. The first one is XML and the second one is JSON. So XML is not used anymore in our applications. We now use JSON for that. So let me tell you an example of JSON. So a JSON format typically represents something like this. So you write parenthesis, and inside this you write key in colon, for example, your name, and you also write the answer in colon also. For example, I write here John Doe. So this is a particular syntax of like a JSON format, and you write age here, and here you write 23. So this is a typical example of a JSON syntax that we have. So here also I have given a data object, okay, which is ticker, and I have these base values here, right? So I can use a syntax similar to this, and I can also parse this particular data accordingly. Another example of JSON object is this particular dog. It has a key and a value pair, and I can also use this accordingly. So both of these things signify JSON. So for sending and receiving data from the backend, what we do, we use APIs, and inside APIs, what is the syntax that we use? It's a JSON string that we use, not an object. So there is difference between object and JSON, which is a very important distinction to be made right now. That this is not object, it's JSON. Okay. So now, yeah. So data is represented as key value pair, and every key must be in double quotes. They should always be in double quotes, and undefined does not exist in JSON. So if you are getting any value that is undefined right now, then it will not be accepted. Okay. So now the next thing is if I want to convert a JSON data to let's suppose JavaScript object, and I want to display it on the front end, what I am going to use is I am going to use JSON.parse and the name of the variable. So if I write this particular value, I'll be able to convert my JSON variable JSON variable into a into an object of JavaScript. Okay, so that's how I can do this particular task. And if I want to convert an object to JSON, then in that case, I will use JSON.stringify and the value. So these are two important distinctions that need to be made. So if you want to convert a JSON data to a JavaScript object, you are going to use JSON.parse. And if you are using object, to be converted to JSON, then you are going to use JSON.stringify. So, and JSON is also used with other languages, like it's used with Python, it's used with Ruby, and there are a lot of like languages with which JSON is used. So, if we see the particular, yeah, status codes. The another part that we have, if I go back to this chat GPT page and I show you the request method and the status code. So you see there is a code that is being displayed here right now. So what this code means, there are different types of codes that we have. If I just search here on HTTP codes, then I'll be getting in MD and WebDocs a lot of codes that we have right now. So all the codes in between 200 and 299 represent successful responses. So if you are getting anything between 200 and 299, it means that your status has been successful. You are able to retrieve data from the backend. If you have between 100 and 199, then this means you have informational responses. That is, you are getting some information from the backend. If you are getting between 300 and 399, it means redirection messages, or you can say you are being redirected to some web page. Let me check if we are getting some redirect URL. Not in this particular web page, but if you are getting some redirect URL, then you will be getting a status code between these things. If you are getting client error messages or there is some issue with the front end, then you get these codes, the client error responses. And if you are getting something between 500 and 599, then this means you are getting server error responses. So this is what a status code represents. Okay, let me just go back. Yeah, so here also I have described similar thing. Let me close this. So now let me zoom it a little bit. So if we see very clearly, we have some different status code here. So these codes are come when we make a response. Okay. So I have already told you this that if we have between 200 and 299, then that means we are getting successful responses from the backend. If we are getting anything between 400 and 499, then that means we are getting client error responses or there is some issue from the front end that we are getting. If we are getting any error between 500 and 599, then that means that we are getting some issue from the server or our backend. Now, we have some queries of HTTP. So if I want to query something, for example, so what I can do is I can create a URL, and if I add here question mark and then the value and equal to. So this is the key that we have right now, and this is the particular value. So I can also do that. Let me show it to you in here also. So if we see it very clearly, let me open some URL. Yeah. So if you see here, we have chatgpt.com and then we have version 1 and then RGSTR and then we have a question mark symbol. Okay. We have a question mark symbol. So what this signifies, after this we can add query values. So K will be equal to this particular value and we can add more value. ST is equal to JavaScript client. So that's how we can create query strings in the URL. So here we have https amazon.com, for example, and then we are going to start the key. So here this will be question mark, which signifies the start of our query. Then we write key and then we write the value. If I want to add more than one thing, what I can do, I can use AND operator and I can write another key and the value. Let me just go back. Yeah, so I can simply write and here and I can write s prefix and then the value, right? So this is how I can create query string for the URL also. So what are query strings? As I already told you, they are key value pairs and they're separated by and operator. So for example, I have a URL https google.com. For example, I have this particular URL www.google.com and I want to pass something. For example, I want to pass my name. here. So this is how I am going to pass it. So if I pass it like this, so this represents a key and value pair, and that's how I can pass values. And if I add here and, then I can pass more values. For example, I can pass here age, and I can also pass here school, for example. So that's how we construct a query string for the URLs. Now, if your API is looking for that particular query string, then it will work. Otherwise, it will just ignore them. So that's a very important part, that if your API is looking for some query strings, then it will look for it. Otherwise, it will just ignore these query strings. So we don't have to type these queries ourselves, and we can add parameters here, and that will work properly. Now, headers are also these key value pairs, and we can add it accordingly. So let me just tell it to you. If we go to the Postman, you can try using Postman for creating the request, HTTP request from front end and back end. So here, if you go to the headers part, let me scroll it down a little bit. So you get a key and value pair here, and you can also add your params here. For example, I can add here name and the name and the value. And I can also paste some URL. For example, I can paste this particular URL and pass these params here. So I can also do that. So that's what headers represent here. Okay, and also if we go scroll down a little bit, we can also type the content type headers. For example, I want the content type to be application slash JSON. So I can also pass this type of headers here also, and our URL will work accordingly. Then we have some API, and that is some APIs that we have, they require some custom headers. For example, this particular API requires application type content header, otherwise this will not work correctly. So that's what it signifies, that all APIs require some type of custom headers. Now let's go back, and let me show you a little bit about. Let's go here to the Node.js part. Okay, then I'll explain you about the fetching. Okay, so Node.js. What exactly is Node.js? Node.js is a JavaScript runtime engine which is used to run backend applications or your server on your computer. So if you are using Node.js, then you can create server code, run it on your computer, and similarly connect it with your front-end applications. So now, what is a process in that? So it is a global object, and it contains information about version of node, different methods, what memory you are using, etc. So let me show you a code. Yeah. So suppose this is your particular code that we are writing in Node.js, and what we do is we write require we require something from the file system. Okay, and how we require? We install it by using npm. Let me open a new file for that. I'll explain to you in a more concise manner. Just give me a minute. Yeah, let's close everything. Hmm. Okay, so JavaScript is JavaScript runtime engine. Okay, and okay, let's just give me a minute. Now, Node.js helps us write server-side JavaScript code that I have already told you. And we were up till now only running JavaScript in browsers. We were like using inspect, and we were writing it in the JavaScript browser, right? Then what we did, we created Node.js, and it helps us execute code outside of the browser. Like we can also log it in our terminal and use it accordingly. Now, why should we use Node.js? Why only plain JavaScript was like not very much sufficient? Why we had to move to Node.js? Let me explain it to you. So we had to create web servers, and for writing the server-side logic, JavaScript was not sufficient. Like we were not able to save the data that we were using. If we click on refresh, then all our data was going to the was becoming empty. And also we were like not able to use command line tools with Node.js. We were not able to make native apps like VS Code and Slack. We were not able to make these kind of apps. We were trying to use Node.js for making video games in which we were successful. So all these powerful applications are used by Node.js. And we can like treat this Node.js as a console for creating server-side applications. And the base of all of this is JavaScript. Now, when we are using Node, we don't have a document or a window. We are using it globally everywhere, and we can use everything on our computer basically. So have some of the built-in modules for Node.js. Let me tell it to you by writing this particular code. So for example, I have this particular code first script.js and I can run it simply like this. So this is how I can simply create a Node.js application and use it in my code. And yeah, just give me a minute. Let me open a new code file to explain it to you a bit more clearly what we are doing and show you the structure of a Node.js application. Okay. Okay, so this is an example code of a server that I have here. So it contains node modules. So how we can install a new node module? Let me show it to you. Uh, or let's do one thing. Let me create a new file altogether. That will be much better, I guess. Here I can create a new folder and I can say it learning node.js. Okay, you open this. Okay, so this is a particular folder that I have right now. I'll open the terminal and I'll move into this particular folder. We are inside this right now. Now, what I will do is I will use npm init, this particular line of code. Now, it's asking me some of the lines that I have. This is how we are going to create a new server, backend server in our application. So now it's saying package name. So I will give it learning node. This will be my package name. Then I will continue with the version. I will write description in this particular folder. I am creating a backend server and learning some backend concepts. Okay. Now I will click on enter. This will be my entry point, and then test command we can skip it. Get repository also, keywords also. Author I can give here my name, and license we can also skip, and I can simply click on yes here. Then you can see I have a new file created here, package.json. So whatever things we were writing there right now has been written here, right? This learning node, the version, the description, and everything has been written here right now. Now what I will do is I will use here npm install. Now this will install some of the packages in my code right now, and it will also install one package log.json file for me. See, I have also got a package.json file here. Now what I can do is I can simply create a new file here which will be touch index.js. Okay, I will just click on enter and you can see I have created an index.js file. Now what I can do, I can write here const a is equal to 1. Okay, now if I click on enter and I say console.log a. So this is a simple JavaScript code that I have written here. If I now open the terminal, okay, and I just let me open a new terminal here. Let me close off everything. And now if I write here node and then the name of my file, JavaScript file, let's see what happens. So you can see I'm able to run my JavaScript file for now. So up till now, what we were doing, we were using browser console for running our code. But now, if I write here node and index.js, then I'm able to run my particular code file in the terminal also. Okay. Now, if I simply write here, let a is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I have created an array, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize a variable here. Let me change it to let. I have opened parentheses and I will say console.log AI. Okay. I will hit save and then again I will run this particular command. Now, if you see, I am able to print these also. So that's how we initialize a new server, backend server, and then use it to run our code file. So if you are going to run index.js, then it will work properly. Okay. Now let me go back to the notes. Okay. So now, this is the basic of how we create a simple Node.js server. What all things we can do here is what we are going to study now. So if we go here to argument.js or let's say greeter.js, these all things we can do also in our code. Let me just copy this. Okay, and let me just try pasting this in the browser. Okay, let's see what we get here. So you can see by using process.argv, what we see here is we are running this particular file in our browser. So we can also console log it from here. So that's what this particular line signifies. Okay. Now let's just go back. Yeah. So now let's suppose I want to create a particular file. For example, I want to write these particular things in the file, in my particular file. So then I can use this require a thing and I can require it. So for requiring this, we have to install this particular uh, file from here and then use it. So if I want to use fs, then at first I have to install this in my local system and then I can require it and then use it in my code basically. So what is this file system module? File system module is this particular thing that we have here. So what exactly is this? So file system module is used to manage and interact with files and folders that we have in our computers. So if I say fs dot make this, then it will create a new folder for me. And if I say fs dot make this sync, then it will sync also those folders. So fs is by default not a thing and we need to require it. That's what we are doing it here right now. So by default, fs is nothing, but we have to require it from our code. So if we write this particular line, so this will work. Now what we can do, we can write fs.write file sync, then name of the file, and then the data that will be there inside the file. So what we can do, we can create a file and we can add data in that particular file by using this particular line of code. So it will what this particular line will do, it will make the file from where we run the script and it will not write it by using JavaScript. Okay, so this is an example of a boilerplate code. So it will first of all create a file and then it will write some of the things inside this particular file. For example, in index.html, it will write something. It will again create a file styles.css and will write something in this. And it will create a script.js file and will write something in this. So we are not hard coding these things, but we are using the command fs to write all of these files. And if we are not able to do so, what will happen? We will get an error here. Okay. So let me try if this particular thing is working or not. Let me open a terminal here and let me go to 0 to 13 Node.js. Okay. Then again I will go to file system. And let me try running this particular file, boilerplate.js. Okay, so now I have run this particular file, node boilerplate.js, and if you see, we have been able to create a new folder here, and inside this, as you can see here, I am able to create three files here. First is the index.html file, which is empty right now. So if I add here, hello from index.html file, okay, I save it here, and I again run this particular script. Let's see what we get. So now, since we have this particular folder right now, let me delete this, move this particular thing to trash, and then again open this. So now, again, I'm able to create this particular new folder here, right? This is index.html, and if you see very clearly, I'm able to write hello from index.html file. Whatever thing I had written here, it's automatically written in this particular file. If I write here also hello from index.c sorry hello from css styling file, okay, and I save this, and hello from javascript file. So previously it was all empty. Now let me just delete this again, since we are going to make a new directory. This particular file will give me an error saying that it already exists, so that's why we will delete this particular folder again. Okay, now we don't have any new folder. We will again run this particular command, and now again new folder will be created, index.html file, script.js, and size.css. So that's how we can create folder also, and inside this we can add text also by using node.js. So that is what is the power of node.js inside our application. So this is the starting of how we can create a new file. So if you want to change the name of your folder, you can change it from here. Okay. So it will check if there is existence of this particular folder. Otherwise, it will create a new folder. Now we have some of the things which represent the NPM and node modules. Okay. So if we want to share multiple code across different JavaScript files, then we use functions and variables in other files also. So with Node, we can be very particular about what a file will share and what a file will not share. Okay. So by using that, what we can do, we can use module.exports, and then we can export that particular function also. If we want to export a variable, we can use module.export and the name of the variable. Let me show you an example. So for example, this is your particular JavaScript file. Okay, this is your index.js file. Okay, and you have three files: binx.js, jnet.js, and saddy.js. Okay, so now if we see our binx.js, I have written here module dot exports name and color. Okay, name is binx, color is gray. If we go to janet.js file, we see name and color associated with it, and we have wrapped it inside module.exports. This line is very important right now. Third file, JavaScript file, contains similar thing, saddy and black color, and it is also module.exports. Now, if we go to index.js file, we have created a variable, and we have required all the values that have been exported in this from this particular file. So from binx.js, we have required everything that is being exported. In Janet, we have exported everything that we have required there, right? So for all the three codes, what we have done, we have exported all the things that were imported, all the things that we were exported in these particular three files. Now I have created an array variable bin x, Sadie, and Janet, and I have exported all these cats here also. So what we can do is we can use this particular code here. Now let's try console logging this to explain it to you more clearly. So if I console log all cats here, and let me open the terminal. I will go inside modules and module exports. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to run my index.js file from here. So if I say node index.js. Okay, so there is some error that we have here. We have module not found. Let me check it again. Do we have it inside module.exports? Yes, we have it. Uh, let's check. Okay, so if I click on the ls command, then I'm able to see we don't have a no index.js file inside module.exports folder. So we have app.js, math.js. Okay, we have it inside our shelter folder, right? So we will go inside the shelter folder and we will write node. If I write here ls command, then you can see I have index.js and the three files that we were studying right now, right? So now here I will write node index.js. Now you can see whatever things we had written here, like pinx.js, jnet.js, and sadi.js, all of these things have I am able to console log them, right? So by using this particular format, what we can do, we can export things from here, and I can simply use this in other part of code by requiring simply requiring them. So that's what makes Node.js very powerful, that you can create these particular files, you can require them in new particular JavaScript file and use them according to your preferences. So that's a very important part that we have regarding module.exports. Now, next thing that we have here is, yeah, we have studied about this module.exports part. Module.export is an object and we can directly pass objects as well, that we were doing here right now. We have directly passed objects. Now, in the requiring file, data is imported as an object. That part is clear, I guess. Now, if I want to require it directly from outside a directly, we can have single index.js also, and we can require it from one folder to another folder also by specifying the path there. So we can also do that. Now, let's work on some application or creating a project, somewhat project for our server. Okay. So now what we have here is we have a package here, okay, which says give me a joke, this particular package. So again, what we have done here is we have done npm init and then we have imported some of the things here, right? For example, give me a joke is an npm package. So if you go to google.com, let me open it here, and if we go to npm give me a joke, this particular package, let me search. So you can see we are being redirected to a npm website, and if I click on this, then you can see that I am getting some uh, packages from npm. So npm contain lots of packages. So if I go to documentation here, so you can see we have lots of packages inside npm which we can install and use in our server, use with node.js. So one of the packages that we have here is give me a joke package. It's public right now and it was published 4 years ago. We can see all of this. So how we can use this? What we can do, we can say npm install and save this particular give me a joke package. So we'll just simply go here and let's just go to the code file that we created. Let's just create it in our server. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So we created this particular server. This is our server right now. Okay. So I'll just simply create it here only. I will say npm. Let me open this. I will say npm install uh save. If you are not going to write it, then that's also it will not create any issue. It will save it globally in our laptop. So that's why we are using this particular save option. And here we will say give me a joke. And if I click on enter, so you can see something have some of the things have been installed here, right? So let me close this a little bit and let me show it to you. So now if you see your packet.json code, you can see here in the dependencies, I am able to see this particular package being installed, and the version of this particular package is 0.5.1, right? So we have been able to install this particular package. Now how we can use this? They have also given us the documentation of how we can use this particular code. So we can create a variable here. Let's go to our index.js file, and I will create a variable here. I will say let, okay, and then give me a joke, give a joke. Let me make a particular variable here, and I will require this particular package that we have installed. I have required this particular package here, and then if I want to get a random dad joke, for example, so I can use this particular syntax here. Okay, so now I will just simply say give me a joke, give a joke dot random dad joke. Okay, and then inside this, I have to create a function. Okay, so I will create a function here, and I will pass, let's say, a parameter here. For example, this particular joke parameter. I will open this particular parenthesis, and I will console log joke here. Okay, so that's what they have done also. So now if I save this particular file and again run my server, I will say index.js. Okay, so now you can see I'm able to console log something here. So if you see very clearly, you can see a joke that what was the pumpkin favorite sport? Squash. So you can create random jokes here. If I again run node.js file, then I will be able to see another particular joke, right? Running this again and again will give me random jokes by using this particular package. Okay, so now that's how we can use different packages. Another type of thing is uh, getting random knowledge jokes. Okay, we have a lot of things here. You can see the you can go to the documentation of this particular website, and then you can check what all things they have to offer. Right? We can also get this particular random CM jokes. We can use that. Let me open this, comment out this. Okay, and if I remove this equal to, and if I click on my server, let me remove this, give a joke. Okay, if I go here and I click on node index.js, then you can see I am able to get some of the things here also, right? So you can like do all of these different things and like play around with it. So there are a lot of packages that they have to offer. You can go through them and then you can like use these packages. So that's how we import the packages, install the packages, and use them in our code. Now let's just go back to the notes. So this is also an example where they are requiring a joke and they are requiring some colors and then using it accordingly, right? So they also have this particular dependency, and they have installed two more dependencies here by using the code. So we can also do that. Okay, now the next part is that we have already studied, which is package.json. So inside the package.json, you can see all of the things that you are installing. You can see their versions and you can see the dependencies on which they are installed. So if you see here, if you go to index.js, you are requiring all of these things. And if I open an example of packet.json here, yeah. So if you can see here that I am getting the installed packages and the dependencies and the versions here. So that's what package.json is developed around. So everywhere you are, wherever you are going to like create a package, you will be seeing the package.json code there, and you will be able to see all of the packages, npm packages that you have installed. Okay, so yeah, let me open this. So there is also this one example. For example, this is some package.json code that is created here, and two packages have been installed, color and figlet. Two packages are being installed here. And if I go to index.js, these two particular packages are being required here. And now in figlet, it's hello world and the name of the function, and then console logging if there is any error. Otherwise, console logging the data of the rainbow. Let me run this particular index.js file. Let me close off everything. So I will go inside node modules package. Okay, not intermediate CSS. Let me check. Let me open a new terminal here. Okay, now I have to go inside the node.js folder, and then inside npm folder, and then Jokesters package, right? I think it's Jokesters. No, it's package.json folder. So I will go inside that. Node.js folder. We are inside npm and node modules, and we are studying about package.json. Let me go to ls, and I want to go inside. No such file or directory inside npm. Why this issue? Let's go here. Okay, I'm not able to go inside these folders, but I think you are able to understand the gist that we have here. It's that we can use these package.json files to check what all things we have installed and use them accordingly. So here, for example, we have a some module here, right? We are requiring these modules, and we are checking the language code. Okay, so and then we are like console logging these things by using the conditionals. So that's how we create different servers, and you can also do that. So if you want to uninstall a particular package, for example, we had installed this particular give me a joke package right now, and I don't want it right now. So in place of install, I can simply write npm uninstall give me a joke. Now, if I click on this and I just close this, you can see inside package.json the dependency has gone, and now we are not able to use this particular code. If I go to node index.js, I'll be getting an error saying that this particular module is not found. So by using npm install, we can also use npm uninstall accordingly. Let's just go back again. If we want to install more than one packages, we can simply write it like this. We can install more than one packages. Then, yeah, we can also write this type and module stuff and everything, and we can import more than one packages. So this I have already told you how we can write a first script. All of these things are complete right now. And now a very important part comes here, which is how we can create routes, and how we can like create a proper web application server. So now, if I have a particular Node.js application and I want to target a particular URL, create some requests and responses. So we need express for that. We use express in Node.js for calling function expressions and returning their particular values. So, and by using express, we create URLs of our server code. Okay. So suppose you are requesting something from the server and you are getting some response here. So you use it like this. And these HTTP requests, they are not JavaScript objects, they are information that we are going to send. Let me just show it to you with the help of an example that will be more clear. So if you want to write, let's say, first of all, for requiring anything, I will just open this index.js file and I will say const express is equal to require express. Okay. But this will not work because in package.json, we don't have an express module here still yet. So what we are going to do is we are going to install this module. Now, if we go to our dependencies, we can see we have successfully installed Express here. Now, we will be creating an app. Like for our server, we will be creating an app here. So inside this, we will say const app is equal to Express. Now, this particular app will be used to create URLs for our server, and this particular app will help us to create endpoints which we can use to target some different aspects on our web application. So let's just go back, and here if I simply write a line app.listen. Okay, so here let's just open our code, and I will write here app.listen. And then in the listen, we have to specify a port on which our server will listen. So here we have specified a port and then a function specifying what it will do. So here in the request, we write our port will listen, and then we'll write an anonymous function here, and we write here console.log saying app is listening, or we can say server is listening on port 8080. Okay. Now, if we just go back and write note index.js, you can see I am getting a line saying server is listening on port 8080. So now this is how we have created a boilerplate code for our server, and then seeing if our server is working or not. So app is listening on port 8080. Now let's say I want to create some URLs. Okay. So if I write here app.get, let me write in the code app.get. So get URL is used for getting some of the contents from the server right now. So we want to get some of the values. For example, we want to get a console log value, and we also want to see something on the browser by using this particular application. So what we will do, we will simply add a forward route. This is the default route, and here we will write a request and response, and here we will add this particular line. So this is our anonymous function again, giving two parameters, request and response. So now in response, I want to send this to my browser, and I want to say hello from our server. Let me save everything, and let's just close the server again and run it again. Now our server is listening on port 8080. Now if I go here and I write localhost 8080 and forward slash. Now you can see that I am able to send some of the things to my browser also. So whatever thing we had written here, we are able to send this in our code also. So that's how we can create this particular request and response cycle. So we are sending a response to the browser saying hello from our server. And whatever request we'll be getting that also from our server. So that's how we get a request from the front end or send a request to the front end. So by using the get, we can send that. So I hope this part is clear to all of you. Next, let's say I want to send it to some another URL. For example, I have created another URL saying slash and then request and response. And here I have added the particular URL and I say rest.send in the forward slash. In place of that, I will write here uh, user, for example, and I will say hello from user route. I will save this and I will again open this my browser. I will go back and I will go to the user route. So now you can see whatever thing we were sending here, we are able to see that on our browser also. Hello from the user route. So that's how we can create different routes and we can send response accordingly on that particular routes. So here, if you see this particular page, what they have done is they have used some different like REST. For example, they have created app.get and they have on the cat's route, they have console log thing cat request and they have send here a particular text. So you will be able to console log that and also send that particular request on the browser. Now here also you are sending a response to the browser saying woof. And again, if you go to this particular default URL, you will be set welcome to the home page and you again go to the cat's URL, you can post some of the request on the URL. So you can also get the request and you can also post some of the request on the URL. You can also do this particular subreddit URL for redirecting it to different URLs. So you can do all sorts of this and play around with this particular code and create an app for that using express.js. So this is how routing works in express.js. I hope this part is clear to all of you. As far as the dependencies are concerned, here we are using express.js. Now, let me just clean up the code a little bit and show you to you how we can create some different apps here. Okay, including front end and the back end. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so this is a particular file that we have here. Okay, let me open this in a little bit more detailed format. If you say here, we have created a public folder. Inside this, we have a styles.css file, which is containing background color of aquamarine. Okay, so we have this styles.css file inside this particular public folder. Then we have created a new file which says views, and inside this, we have created EJS files. So what exactly is EJS files? So if you want to write HTML code inside your backend applications, inside your server applications, you don't use HTML for that. You use EJS, which is embedded JavaScript codes. So in embedded JavaScript code, if you write this EJS files, you can simply write a HTML code for that. So here, if you have here, you will simply write it just like HTML. Just for wherever you want to use JavaScript, you can write these particular embedded codes. For example, here we are writing this particular percentage symbol, and then we are writing the JavaScript code here. So for let cat of cats and then percentage and everything, we can use it here accordingly. So now, yeah, again we have created a home tab, home home browser. Here also we can do some particular JavaScript part. For example, we have written everything similarly. Just wherever we wanted to use JavaScript, we have embedded that in these particular symbols, arrow, percentage equal to, and then we have used JavaScript here. So we can do that also by using these EJS script files. Here also we have similar kind of thing, random.ejs and subreddit.ejs. So these are the different types of files that we have created for views. Okay. Now we have a new file which is data.json. So we have created this particular file which contains some of the data in JSON format. So this is your key, and inside this we have name, subscribers, description of the game. Then we have chickens, name, subscriber, description, and everything. So this is how we have created a particular JSON file here for the data. So this is the data that we are sending on the server right now. Then we have our package.json file, which contains all the dependencies. For using EJS also, we are going to install it in the server. So we have installed EJS and we have also installed Express by using npm install command. Now if you go to index.js file, you can see I have required Express here for creating our app, server app. We have created an app variable and we have required Express in that. We have created a path and then required it by using the path variable. And we have imported the Reddit data that we have calculated by from the reddit.json file. Okay, we have we have imported this particular data from here, right? So we have imported this from dot slash data.json. We have imported this particular data from dot slash data.json file. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to use this path, their name path variable and public. Okay, we are using this particular path. Now, our local host is listening on port 3000 right now. So we have created our server on localhost 3000, and then what we have in the local route, we have home as is being rendered. So let me open the terminal and let me run this particular server file. So if I say in node index.js, what we are seeing here is it cannot find module express here. So what we'll do, we'll install express. Now it's being installed. It's in a package.json. Now we again write index.js. So now you can see our port is listening on 3000. So we'll go to a new web page and then we'll simply write here. Let me close off everything. So we'll simply write here localhost 3000. Okay. I will click on enter. So now you can see all of the things that were being rendered on the home page. If you go here, you can see on the home page, we are able to render this on the forward route home, right? We are able to render this home. What exactly is this home? This is your EJS file. Okay, let me show it to you once. Yeah. So this is your home.ejs file that you are rendering from index.js. Okay. So now you can see here all of the things that were being written on the EJS file. So that's the benefit of using EJS inside your server code. If I go to this particular subreddit tab, we will be able to see that. If I go to slash cats route, let me go to the slash cats route that we have created. So you can see cats.ejs file being rendered there because we have rendered here cats. Okay. Now we are also able to go to some random route. So your random number is 6. We are getting all of these things from random.ejs. So all of these things we can be done by using index.js and creating the Express app respectively. So I hope this part is clear to all of you. Now, I'll give you a minute to, if you want, you can take the screenshot of this particular code file and you can try doing this on your own. What you can do is you can try creating a Node.js app by using give me a joke package and you can create this particular server on your own. Meanwhile, let me open a new folder here. If you guys have any doubts, you can ask. And let's start in a minute. All of these things that we are doing now. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, guys, let's continue further. Now, we are going to study about a very important part that is the REST APIs and the get and post requests that we have in the in backend. Okay, so here, what is the basic difference between what we were doing here? Like we were doing app.get, right? And we were doing app.post here. So both of these things were doing what? They were sending something on the browser, right? What exactly is the difference between both of them? So if you see, you can create GET request and they are used to retrieve information or the resource from your server. Okay, if you are creating a GET request, you are retrieving something, you are getting some info. And post is used for sending an information to the server. So they are just conventions and we can use it accordingly. Now, if I want to, let's say, send a JSON data. Okay, so for sending a data, I will use post, and if I want to get that JSON data, I will use get. Okay, let me show it to you by opening this particular file. Let me copy path and I paste it in the browser. Okay, so now if you see here, one is a get request and the another one is a post request. Okay, in this particular HTML page. So what it is doing is one form is for a get request, right? I have created a form and the action is it's going to localhost 3000 and tacos route. And the method is get here and the input field is text and name. And then if I click on submit, I'll be able to get something, right? And if I create a post request in the second heading, if you see form, this is a post request form. And here the action is again tacos, but the method is post here. And I am also taking the same input here. So here what we will do, we will create in our backend this particular tacos route. So if we go to script.js, I have connected, yeah, this is your script.js file. And we have again required express, created an express app, used it. What is this particular thing? Express.url encoded, which means that you can send multiple files here, right? So if you send JSON also. So if you want to send JSON object or get JSON object, you use these two lines, right? So now what you have done, you have created a get route on the tacos containing the request and the response, and you will send this particular response, get tacos response, if you are going to get something. Now, if you are posting something, what you will do, you will console log this request.body and you will console log this. So, okay, here are your these tacos. And similarly, we are listening this particular app on 3000. So let me open the terminal. And for writing this, like using this particular server, what we'll do, we'll first run this particular server. So I will write script.js. What thing we don't have here? We don't have Express here. So we'll again install npm install Express in this particular folder. Now we have installed Express. We'll again write script.js. Now our app is listening on port 3000. Now if we go here to our index.html file and I create a get request. Let me open inspect also, then it will be more clear. So right now our console is empty. It does not have anything. Now if I create a get request, I have to write here, what do I have to write? I have to write here a text and a number. So I will write here John. Okay, and I will write here 1 2 3 4. Now if I click on submit, you can see this particular yeah, let me just check. Put on the get route, I am not able to get anything. Let me just try posting something. Yeah, so now if you see here, whatever thing we were console logging here, get tacos response, that is being displayed on the particular browser. See here. So what we were sending as a get request, we are able to get that tacos response. If we change it to something like this, get request successful. Okay. If I save this and I click on refresh, let's just go back again. And if I click on submit, yeah, we have to run the server again. For if we make any changes, we have to run the server again. We have run the server again. And if I click on OK, you can see I am able to send this particular file. So get request is for getting something from the browser. And if you want to post something, then let's just go back, and by posting we'll get this particular line, right? So I will write here John 1 2 3 4, and if I click on submit, then you can see these particular line that I am getting here. So that's the difference between the get and the post request. By using get, you can send the values, you can get the values from the server, and by using post, you can post these particular values on the server. By using request.body, what you can do, you can also send a particular body, like JSON body here, right? You can also send that. So yeah. Okay, so this part is done, I guess. The get and post part. Let's open a new file and let's start with the database part. Okay, so just give me a minute. Okay, so now what exactly is MongoDB? Okay, so MongoDB is an application that is used with Node.js, and a lot of times you might have seen that if I just let me show it to you once. So suppose I have this particular script.js file. Okay, and let me just comment out everything. Okay, I have commented out everything from here right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply write an array const a, or let's say user array I will create. I will add some names in this particular user array. Okay. So these are the three names that I have added in the array. And if I console log this, okay, So I am able to console log this. But what if I want to save these values in the database? So for saving these values, so that I can always get them on the browser also, we use database. So MongoDB is used with Node, and uh, like we are covering CRUD operations right now. CRUD operations means get, push, put, post and delete operations, and we can use them and retrieve the data from the database. Okay, so why we have to use database instead of just saving a file? So database is used for data persistence, like there will always be similar data always, and we can store large amount of data in the database and then we can retrieve it on time. So for example, in some of the companies, for example, in Google only, they have lots of users data. So all of this data cannot be simply saved in a file because that file will become very large. So for that purpose, we use database. Now, they also provide us tools for CRUD operations. For example, from MongoDB, we can get the data. We can also save the data from our browser to the database. We can also delete that particular data, and we can also update the data. So, MongoDB or any other database for that sort, it provides us a scalable features which we can incorporate in our browser and we can seamlessly work on it. Now, there are also some security features, which means that if some of the users will not be able to access that particular data and so on. So that's why we use database. Now, what exactly means NoSQL and SQL database? So there are two types of database that we have right now. So first one is the SQL database. SQL databases are relational databases. Like they are represented in the form of tables and schema. Okay, some of the relevant examples are, for example, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and Oracle. All of these are SQL databases. NoSQL databases are newer and very different groups. For example, MongoDB that we are going to use is a NoSQL databases, and they don't require a schema or a table to be generated for saving data in the database. Okay, they store this particular information in JSON like format, XML format, or YAML format. So that's why they are also called NoSQL or no structured databases. Why we are using MongoDB right now? Because MongoDB is very commonly used with Node and Express, MERN and mean stack, and it's very convenient to integrate this database with Node and Express. So that's why we are using MongoDB here. Now, it's very like convenient. If you are a fresher and you are learning about MERN stack development, then MongoDB is a very great choice to start with because it's very easy to be set up and it's very like easy to get started with, and also it works very well with JavaScript. So there are a lot of advantages of using MongoDB in a JavaScript type environment like Node.js. And also we have a strong community of like developers for MongoDB, so we use MongoDB for that. Now the syntax of MongoDB is like similar. We use JSON formats, and if I write here show databases, then we can show the list of databases. And if I write use database, then this will create a database and switch to it. Okay, so we can use this particular shell, MongoDB shell, and create show databases list or use databases list. Okay, now BSON format is used for storing data in the MongoDB database. It's very similar to JSON. It's a document type format. Okay. And JSON also does not support a lot of data types. So that's why we use BSON, which is known as binary JSON. It's a very compact form of JSON. So it stores data types like string and Boolean format. So it stores a lot of data inside the database. Okay, up till 1 TB of data can be stored inside this. Now we can insert the data in database by insert a collection. Collection represents grouping of data, and our data will be floating around in the database. We can also show these collections, like we can also get this particular collection. And if a collection does not exist, then MongoDB will create one collection and then insert the data by using insert one and insert many commands. So I'll explain all of these commands one by running them. So for now, you understand that we are right now working with MongoDB database here. So let me just open this particular code file that we have here. So I click Control Z here. Okay, so here what we are doing is we are using Mongoose. So, what exactly is Mongoose? So, Mongoose is an application that lets us interact with our database and a Node.js application. So, we install Mongoose in our application and we use it to connect our MongoDB database and our Node.js application. So, here, if it's basically an object data mapper. It's also called an ODM. It makes data coming from Mongo. It converts it into JavaScript objects, and we can use it in our application, in our web application, basically. So as I already told you, MongoDB saves its data in BSON format, which is different from JSON. And if we simply pass this MongoDB data to our server, then we won't be able to use it in our browser and we won't be able to show this data on the website. So that's why we use a ODM, which is Mongoose here, object data mapper, and we make the data coming from MongoDB into useful JavaScript object. Okay. Now, by using Mongoose, how we use Mongoose, we install this in our application and by using npm install Mongoose. Short form is npm I Mongoose. We require this particular file and we run mongoose.connect. So if I go to my JavaScript file, you can also see I am able to console log on this particular Mongoose, and then I have connected a particular MongoDB instance with it. So now where we will get this particular URL. So you have to install uh, an application in your laptop, which is MongoDB Compass. Okay, MongoDB Compass. Let me open this right now. It's opening right now. Will take some time. Okay, let's open this in the browser only. If you go to MongoDB Atlas, you can create a cloud database here. Okay, so you will get that particular URL from here only. You will be able to like sign up here. Okay, so simply sign up. It's asking for updation. Yeah. So now here, if you see, I already have a collection here. I can connect it or I can create a new connection. Okay. So for example, this is a local URL of a connection. I will give a name here. Learning MongoDB, for example. I can give a name here and I can add a color of my choice. I can click save and connect. Then let me click on connect. Let me close it, remove it, create a new connection, connect it. Okay, it's not connecting right now. But this is the particular URL due to I think network issue from my side. I'm not able to connect it. But you can also create a URL from here. For example, this is a that database that I have. I can also create a new database from here, give it a name, and then create a database which is a cloud. This particular URL is a local database. Okay, it's asking for update. That's why some issues I'm getting from it connecting. So you can create this in MongoDB Compass and then name of your database. Then you can pass this parser values and then you will write here connected to MongoDB. If this particular Mongoose data is successful, you will be you will getting a console log saying connected to MongoDB. And then you can create this particular schema. This is a movie schema, and inside this you can pass your title, year, score, and rating. Okay. So then you can create this particular model inside this, and you can pass a value here. Let me try connecting the database after updating. That will be better. Okay, just give me a minute. That would be better to work with. It's not responding right now. It's installing right now. Okay, let's try creating a new one. Still encountering some issue. No, it's not working. Okay, let me show it to you by here only. So if you are able to like create this particular database, you can click on connect. Okay, this will be connected and you will be able to see these particular clusters. I'm showing you an example here. If you go to text data, I have created some different collections inside it. This is the BSON format that we have here. Okay. If I click on edit here, you can see this particular format that I have. I have different collections. I can create them. So this is how a schema is being defined. So similar to this, what I have done here is I have created a schema and I have added these particular names. And if I want to add a new value, what I can do, I can use this particular schema and add that particular value. This isn't inserted yet, and this will be saved. If I want to insert more than one values, for example, what I can use this particular command, and I can say movie dot insert, not insert one, but insert many, and then insert all of these values. Then I can console log this particular data, and then I can console log that this particular data is inserted successfully, and I can also console log that. If I want to find a particular value from my database, what I can do, I can say movie.find. Let me comment this out. Yeah. So if I want to find a particular data, I will write here movie.find. then data will be console log data. And if I want to find it with a particular year, then I can also do that. And if I want to find it by ID, then I can also write the ID here and then console log that. So this is how I can find different values from the database. If I want to update something, then what I can do is I can use update one. It updates the first entity that matches. So if I write here movie.update one, title with title this, then I can use this and then console log. If I want to update many values, then I can use this particular syntax and I will be able to update that. If I want to say that find one value and then update it, then I can use find one and update. If I want to delete something, then I can also use delete one and delete many. So that's how we interact with database, connect with database, and then add values in it, or delete or update these particular values. Okay. So inside app.json, package.json, let me show it to you. Yeah. For example, I have also created another particular uh, database, right? And let me show it to you. Let's try again. Let's close this. Okay. And let's try adding a new connection again. Okay. Let's use this particular URL. Okay, name will be something like this, and then try connecting it. No, it's not working yet. So you try connecting it. It's not working in my system, but I think it will work on yours. And I have this particular person schema here that I have created. First will be string, last will be string. I can also specify it as a number, and then I can add this particular value inside this. For example, I get a name and the last name. Then I can create a full name also inside my database by using this dot first and this dot last. So I will be getting full name also, right? So this is how I can create first name and last name. Then if I want to insert a value, I can simply write here person is equal to first, the value, last, and the particular value. So I can also do this. Now here also, if I want to add a product, so if I can use here name and I can add a required value if I want this to be required always, otherwise my data will not be pushed. So I can write here required, and I can also specify maximum length here. For price also, I can write required and price should be positive. So I can add all of these particular conditionals also in my schema, and without these particular things, my data will not be pushed. So that's how I can add required values and also the minimum requirement that we have. Okay, and by default, this value should be false. We can also add that. Now using Mongoose with Express. So for this, we create different models. So inside models, this is a proper syntax of adding a writing a backend code. So in this, you require Mongoose. You create a schema, okay, and you export this particular schema, this product schema. You export this. Then you go to your server.js file and you import this particular product from here. Right? You see here you are requiring this particular product from your models and you use it to connect to database and then use it in your browser. So that's how you create server applications. Now for practicing CRUD applications, what you can do here is you can create a model, okay, of let's say a product, and then you can create some views in the particular file. Let me open some of the file. Just give me a minute. Search on list. Uh, Inside MongoDB, we have practice CRUD app, node server.js. I will install Express here. Okay, and what else we are not getting here? Okay, address already in use. Let me close it. This particular server is listening on port 8080. I will close this and I will again run this. So now my port server is listening on port 8080. I will open a URL here, which is products and home URL. So let me go back here, and here what I will do is I will go here. Just a minute. So here in place of 3000, I will write 8080 slash products. Let's see where we go, and I will write here home. So it's being getting redirected, right? So inside this, I have requested a root resource, and then I'm getting a product, right? So since it's not able to connect to database, so I'm getting error. But if you are able to connect to database, you will be able to get all the products that are available on the database. Okay, and if you don't have any product, then you will be getting there is no product found. So you have to create a similar application to this, that which will get products from the database and then show it on the browser, and then it will render a EJS web page. So you can do that. If you want to get a product based on its ID, you can also do that. You can also get a new product that is available, or you can post a new product on this particular web page and save it in the database, or try deleting this. So that's how you can practice all the CRUD operations that we have. Okay. We have already covered this part of practicing the CRUD operations with Node and MongoDB. And I think the part of this is complete here. Okay. We have studied about the models. Okay, so now cookies, you might have on a lot of web pages heard about cookies, like accept the cookies on this particular web page or reject the cookies. So what exactly are this? So they are session management and authentication applications that we use in a browser. So they are tiny bits of information that we store on user's browser, and they are used in session management and authentication and everything. Now, if we go to developer tools, application, storage, and cookies, then we will be getting these value and pairs. So on after sending a particular cookie on every local host, we have access to this particular cookie, and we can send domain, expiry date, path, and everything to this particular application. So if you accept cookies on a particular website, then you will be able to store the user's information for some time on your server. So that's why cookies is used. And we use cookies for statefulness of our request. Now there are some signed cookies. So signing something, it refers to some cryptographic signature. Signing cookies means that we can send it with a secret code on the client side, and the cookie will look normal. So if we are doing that, then we can hide that particular data, or we can tag that particular data on the client side also. We can update a signed cookie, or we can do all of this by using this. So if we use cookie.sign, this particular line, then this will sign the cookie, and unsign, it will tamper the cookie value, and then we will not be able to use it again. So that's how we manage the sessions for a user. For example, a user has signed it, we can take that particular user's name, the email, and everything, and use it for for our server. Cookie parser is a dependency that we use for this. And here, it's an example how we can create a cookie. So we use app.use cookie parser. This is my secret, and this will be a secret will be created, right? Then request.cookies, and inside this we can take the name, animal name, and we can take it from cookies. For example, a person has signed it, and it has given me a name and the animal value. Both of these things I am getting for cookies value of which the user has signed in, and I can also send it with animal and say hi. Okay, so that's how we use the value of cookies. We can also set name, like we can also set this particular name in the cookie, and we can also update these values in the cookie. So this is session management. Basically, we can do that. If you want to store user value, what user has signed, what is their update, and if you want to update something, you can use cookie system. It's used a lot on the server. Okay, now this is routes. Okay, so router, now we can put all the routes in a single file like we have been doing till now. Like, but in a very huge app, they will become very complicated, right? So router is a built-in feature that we have. So this will divide our routes, different routes in different web applications, like different web pages of JavaScript. So here, if I import admin router here, express.router. So here I have created a route here of admin routes. Here I have created dog route. Here I have created shelter route. And I can mix all of these routes in a particular index.js server.js file. Here I can import all of these routes and use it in our code. So when I'll be having 30 or 40 routes in my code, then I can use this particular express router functionality to divide my routes into different JavaScript files, and this will make my code a lot more better and like a lot more readable. Okay, so that's the dependency that we have installed right now, Express, and we can import that router from here. Okay, so this will make our particular code very easy to read. Okay, I hope this part is clear to all of you. And with this, we have completed a lot of part of uh, Node.js and Express. Let me close this and everything. Yeah. And if you guys have any doubts from this Node.js, Express, and MongoDB part, you can ask in the chat box. And I'm open for all the discussions. Else, we'll end this today's session, and you guys can practice all of these concepts on your own. Okay, thank you guys for your